Maybe I'm crazy, maybe I'm not.
All right, Geoff Schwartz is joining us. Really appreciate you coming in.
You're glad to be here.
So I've always wanted to ask you.
Yes.
So you and your brother have a book.
Yes.
Eat My Schwartz. And I'm a huge fan of Spaceballs.
Yes.
Have you ever heard that joke before?
Never.
You haven't?
I heard it every day, yes.
Okay. Dang.
The now Browns general manager, John Dorsey,
Yes.
when he was in Kansas City with me, that's all he spoke to me.
In Spaceballs terms?
He said, may the Schwartz be with you. Every day I ever saw him for 6 months. That's all I got from him. He'd walk with his hands behind his back. He wore that kind of like that nondescript gray sweater thing
Right.
he wears, said Chiefs on it, and he just, may the Schwartz be with you, and just walk by me every time.
And he thought it was hilarious every time.
I'm sure he did, yeah. I wouldn't even answer him sometimes. I'd just be like, oh, there, like just for 6 months straight, it's all he did.
That's amazing. It's actually the most on-brand John Dorsey story
Right?
you could ever
And he had
have.
like that kind of smile on his face. Like he was super pumped that he said it to me. I wonder if he did it to my brother when he was there. I got to ask him.
Yeah, you do have to ask him,
Yeah.
actually, because I could see him using the exact same joke unapologetically.
Over and over again.
So
It
you
was
didn't want to
fantastic.
like remix it?
No, that's what he said to me every time.
I really thought I was going to be the first one to tell you that joke.
For Spaceballs?
Yeah.
I had not seen that movie till college, though. I didn't know that was a thing until I got to college.
So people were making the joke, but you hadn't seen the movie.
Yeah.
Do you love the movie, or is it
it's
just
good.
super
I
annoying
don't
because
think
John
I've-
Dorsey wore it out?
I don't think I've seen the movie from start to finish ever. I've seen like parts of it throughout. So I've seen the whole movie like completed.
Right.
But I've never sat down one time and watched the whole movie.
Yeah, that's fair, because that's one of those movies. It's like it's so parody, you kind of get it.
Yeah.
So you don't really need to sit through it. But I do love that movie. Okay, well, I need to get more creative. I guess me and John Dorsey have the same sense of humor. I would not hit you with the same joke 6 months in a row, though. But I kind of am impressed that he did that. That's a lot of dedication. So your brother still plays for the Chiefs.
Yes.
And they played in a tundra this weekend. Have you ever played in weather like that before?
Once actually with the Chiefs. Oh, there he is. Look at that. Look at you guys. This is class organization here. That's a great picture. Yeah, he had a ton of fun. I mean, that's like our dream. I grew up in Los Angeles. I grew up here. I did not see snow as a kid.
Right.
I went to Oregon. It snowed like once a year in Oregon and once a day. I mean, that's a ton of fun. I played in one game in 2013. We played the Redskins in Washington. We got this for the first half. So much fun. Snow is great. We got sleet the second half. Sleet is the worst. It was sleeting sideways. Now we won like 48-7. So I sat most of the second half. I had my jacket on. It was nice. But this is fun. Anything worse than this when it's colder, sleet is the worst.
Okay, so this is still very cold though, and the visibility is rough. So you said that you won what 47?
We won we beat them we were up 38-7 at halftime. I think so. I don't know what the score ended up being.
Okay, and
It was
then this was a blowout too.
Yeah.
So normally, we would think that these games you'd have to run the ball
Yeah.
the whole time. So because you really can't see. So how does it go that you can score, especially the way that they did?
A couple things here. It's not when it snows. It's not like terribly cold. I mean, it's like in the upper 20s.
Right.
Sleet, it's like 0 degrees. I mean, it's much colder and it's terrible. The thing about playing in snow and rain and whatnot, the wind is the biggest factor for a quarterback. The snow is pretty much fine. You saw with Pat. Also, it's hard to play defense in the snow. It's great for us offensive linemen and great for skill. But you saw Tyreek Hill just running. They couldn't stop themselves on defense. And so I think that there's a common misconception that they're going to run the ball every play. A lot of these games go over because the passing is great if it's not that windy because defenders can't get their footing on the field. That's what happened in this game. So I wasn't surprised. And Pat was 27 of 34 for 340. I mean, it's just like
It's unbelievable.
It's incredible. Yeah, it was a lot of fun. I don't miss playing, but I was jealous of this. That would have been a lot of fun to play in.
Yeah. See, so for me, I've never played football. Obviously.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I wasn't built for it, but I'm the runt in my family. However, I've sat through many football games in the stands, not quite as enjoyable. So last weekend I was watching my nephews play for the state championship in Daytona, and it was I want to say it's 60 degrees or something, and I had a blanket on myself, wrapped around.
Yeah, I don't get that. My wife's the same way. She sleeps with 2 down comforters. I don't get why.
You run hot, I imagine?
Yes, of course.
Okay.
Yes.
I am like your wife. I do not run hot. As you can see, T is sitting here with a blanket draped over her. I'm not cold, but I could lose maybe 2 degrees warmer in here. I just don't want to be restricted by a jacket. So the point is, I don't like sitting in the cold.
Well, that would suck for you.
Fans show up no matter. There was an empty seat in that building.
I went to the AFC Championship game last year in Kansas City, and remember, it was good. They were gonna have that polar vortex. It's supposed to be -2 early in the week, and I went to Amazon. And I bought every thermal you could buy: snow pants, ski gear. Ended up only being 12 degrees. And it's awful. It's not fun, but you're watching a football game, you're into it, you're cheering, you try to stay warm. I had gloves and thermals on and everything thermal, and you just suck it up. I mean, you only have 8 home games a year, and if you get a playoff game, it's pretty awesome. So, and I think you could say as a fan, it's a cool experience to sit in a snow game. No, and maybe not for you.
Well, I mean, I don't look. I'm on the spoiled end of it. I've been to a ton of games. Obviously, my brother played in Akron, and I went to every game he played in college.
It looks very cold there.
It's not a It's cold. It's very cold. It's very, very cold. I have memories of sitting in the bathroom, which is not a place you want to like hang out.
But it's warm in there.
But it is warm in there, yes. Yeah. So anyway, okay, so it looks cool. But have you ever played in a game where it's like so cold that it's hard to actually play? Because you're talking about 12 degrees as if it's like a nice AC breeze.
Yeah. See, here's the thing about the cold. It's not the players that are playing. It's not really a problem because when we start playing, we're warm. Like in between drives. I mean, like in the drive, we're fine.
Right.
It's the in between drives that suck, where you're on the sidelines. So the heated benches get too hot. So you have this weird thing where like you might get burned if you sit on the bench, like your butt gets really, really hot, or you stand up and get cold. Like you have a weird dynamic there. Like a lot of guys, if you look, they sit on multiple towels on the bench because the heat benches it's like one temperature. It's like really hot or not on. Like you don't have, there's no in between. No in between. And your warm up sucks because you don't want to go out and warm up, and like everything else is awful.
Right.
And like for me, my hands would get really cold, and hitting someone with cold hands is not very painful.
Hurts.
So I would put my hands in the warmer to get them warm again. I think the coldest game I played in was near 0. We played a game in Pittsburgh on a Thursday night that was about 0. Wow, look at you guys. That was a different team, but still, you guys are ready to go with this. Look at that. We played, it was at the Panthers in 2010. It was about near like 12-0 with the wind chill. I don't know. Look, I grew up in Los Angeles. Like I'm used to this weather we have today. It's kind of fun for me to play in a game that wasn't normal weather. I mean, like, I think for people that grew up in the cold, it probably sucked to have more cold. But it was like, cool. Okay, today's 10 degrees. Let's go have some fun.
Yeah,
like, I was okay.
I grew up in Pittsburgh, so to this day, I don't understand the architecture of Heinz Field.
It's very cold. Yeah,
there's a whole river.
The wind is
water off the river. Very cold, unpleasant. So you just wanted to leave this whole open space.
Well, it's a great view. You want to see that. You want to see the river.
Yeah, and for like 2 months, and then it's like it's a vortex of ice wind.
I love playing in Pittsburgh because the fans love it. Like the fans are into it. Terrible the towels and like I don't think I ever actually
terrible towel right behind you.
Won in Pittsburgh. So maybe it wasn't the best, but I was like playing there.
Yeah, it looks like a fun place to play. I mean, I've been to many games there. I actually had a grown man about your size turn around and get in my face and tell me to shut the up at a Pittsburgh game. Steelers fan.
It's that type of podcast. I wasn't aware. Okay.
Oh yeah, sorry.
Good to know. I'm fine with me. I'm not okay. Now I know. Okay, we can get a little.
Yeah. We get a little looser on here.
Okay. Good to know.
Yeah, and then I shamed him because I'm a little manipulator. And it was my fault. Like, I was being obnoxious. My brother was playing for the Jets at the time, and I'm from Pittsburgh, so I just took advantage of the situation and was very obnoxious. And the man in front of me didn't appreciate it. He apologized later because I was like, I'm so small.
Were you sitting in your Steelers? But you were sitting in Steelers probably section, right? With the Jets? Like, you were sitting like...
I mean, pretty much everywhere in Heinz Field is a Steelers section. But my brother had a great game, and he strip-sacked... I don't know if he strip-sacked Ben Roethlisberger or he sacked him for a safety. But he had some huge play on Roethlisberger, and from that point on, I was insufferable, which is exactly how I was this weekend at my nephew's game. I wasn't that bad, but yeah, Pittsburgh's a fun place. Okay, so your brother's still playing for the Chiefs.
Yes.
I picked the Chiefs to go to the Super Bowl this year. I'm starting to feel a little bit better about it now.
Ooh.
But what do you feel is the Chiefs' biggest issue right now? Because they're playing great.
Yeah.
But the beginning of the season, it was a little sketchy there for a little bit.
I think the health of Mahomes, obviously, that's number one. But number two is their offense stalls out a bunch in games. So, like, they'll have some games where they obviously score a bunch of points. But even if you look at the last 2 weeks, they scored 3 in the first quarter against New England, 17 in the second quarter, and 3 in the second half.
Right.
Even this last week, they only had 1 touchdown in the second half. So they have these lulls on offense. And part of it is they don't run the ball terribly well, and they haven't been very good in the red zone lately. If they fix those things, they have an opportunity to make the Super Bowl, I think. But the rush defense against the Ravens might be an issue if they play them. And their rush defense is not good right now. But their pass defense might be the best Andy Reid has had. I never thought this was the year of the Chiefs. I picked the Patriots to start the season. I think next year's the Chiefs' year. I thought last year everything went about perfect. It just went perfect. And this year, typically we see like this in the NFL. The Patriots are the only team that ever just go up all the time. And so I just felt like if you look, they've had a weird year, injuries and weird plays on the field, and this is not going right. I think next year, when you add more pieces to the defense and basically your whole team's back, next year is my year, I think, for the Chiefs. I wouldn't be surprised if they made the Super Bowl this year, but the Ravens are good.
Yeah, they're unbelievable.
they're really good.
My other pick for the Super Bowl was the Cowboys.
Same here. I had Cowboys Patriots.
You picked Cowboys Patriots?
Yes.
So
I bet on it too. I'd make a lot of money if this happens.
I will. I'm just being a company man because we have, Fox has the Super Bowl and nobody cares about company women. Company man, and the Cowboys Chiefs would be unbelievable ratings. And it would be super fun week to just talk about, and the Cowboys would be amazing. But the big thing with the Cowboys, I think, is every time we talk about the Cowboys, we're always talking about their offensive line, how great the offensive line is. Like it's all through the offensive line. It's Zeke. It's the offensive line. Is the offensive line for the Cowboys as good as we think they are, or is that just like a narrative that's carried on for a couple of years?
Oh no, they're very good. Oh yeah. Having Travis Frederick, that's Zach Martin, but having Travis Frederick back at center has been maybe the biggest addition to any team this year. He missed all last year. Him being back, I mean, look, you have Tyron Smith at left tackle, who's going to be probably a Hall of Famer. You have the left guards who are kind of rotating. Then you have Frederick, who's been one of the best at his position. Zach Martin right there, who is all pro every year at right guard. Then Lyle Collins, who's playing really well at right tackle this year. They're really good. And the problem with the Cowboys, and this is what is most upsetting, is the game we saw against the Rams is what we expected all year. So what me and you expected. Like that's what I thought I was getting this year. So why aren't they doing that? And it's coaching. Like they're not ready to play. I mean, look, I know this is something really silly, but like Dak Prescott not being able to say defer, and then hearing DeMarcus Lawrence say well, I changed it while we were up there, I decided that I wanted the ball instead of kicking. It was something where they wanted the ball, but then DeMarcus Lawrence said he wanted the ball on defense. It just was that's coaching, right? Jason Garrett should have told him, guys, we win the toss, defer. End of story. But they're up there just doing whatever, and it's a little. I don't really blame Dak because he got confused, obviously. But that just falls to this guy. No one else is having those problems. Why can't everyone can figure out how to say defer or what to do? It's not a problem. Are the Patriots don't know how to say defer anymore?
No, but the Patriots they'll have cheated, so they'll know what.
Oh, here we go.
No,
yeah.
We'll talk about that in a second. I don't know.
It's that guy's fault.
Okay,
right there.
It probably is Jason Garrett's fault, and not just Jason Garrett's fault. I think you gotta say something about Kellen Moore, right?
So the thing with Kellen Moore is a couple of things I'm not quite sure. So the first 3 weeks of the year were great on offense. I wrote about it. I got super hyped. I'm like, my pick's going to be right.
Yeah, me too.
And then they just turned into a different offense, I felt like. But if you look at their efficiency numbers, they're top 5 in the NFL. They're efficient offense. So why aren't they scoring points? Why aren't they getting the ball in the end zone? There's weird things happening where you can't really figure out. And I think what happened was, I wrote this. I think it's probably true. I bet Jason Garrett was tired of Kellen Moore getting the props and went in there and said run different stuff. I think that's silly to say, but I don't know why the offense would change.
Yeah.
I think that either he said hey, we're going to be more conservative or we're going to do this and that, but why would the offense?
But there's a drastic change from the first couple weeks where we were Cowboys are unbelievable.
But the schedule's part of it too. They played Dolphins, Giants, Redskins, which maybe, and this is one year where I think we've not taking into account a lot of scheduling, the Bills, for example, have it easy. We've a lot of teams that we don't count schedule this year as much as we have in the past, I think. But I think it just falls down to him, man. I mean, how does your team look so bad for 12 weeks and come up and do the Rams game?
So hypothetically, they fire Jason Garrett at the end of the season. Who could you see taking that job? Because there's a lot of big names being thrown out there.
He'll take it.
And that's the only name that matters. To me,
that's the problem.
I very much admire Jerry Jones as a businessman. I think he's great with his players. He obviously runs an unbelievable franchise as far as profitability and all that, first class, everything. But if you're not named Jones, do you really feel empowered to go in there and say what you need to say? And to me, the most successful people delegate to other successful people. And they're okay with, look, it's not on me. I'm the owner at the end of the day.
Right.
Who cares? I don't Spurs owner. Who cares who the Spurs owner is? We don't really hear from Bob Kraft.
Right.
I mean, we know Bob Kraft because they have 6 championships, but Steelers owners aren't out there. There's just, I think we've probably normalized Jerry Jones. It's not normal.
Yeah, you're 100% correct. And the thing about a new coach is that if you're a new coach, how much do you want to see control to him? to Jerry Jones. Like if you're Urban Meyer, everyone says Urban Meyer. Urban Meyer's not giving away control of Jerry Jones. He's going to run the ship like he did at Ohio State. And that's the thing is like you have to have a coach. And this is why I think Jason Garrett has made it for so long in Dallas, is because when things go poorly, you blame Jason Garrett. When things go well, you give him the praise. And like that's what he loves. Are you telling me he's going to stop doing press conference after the game? No, of course not. I feel like some owners got into this to like make money and win a championship and just kind of be behind the scenes. To your point, I think he got in this to be the Cowboys owner and be forward facing. And this is his baby. And the reason why he wins is because of him and whatnot. And they've drafted well. They've developed players well. But you got to get a coach in there. I don't even know who the coach would be. I mean, everyone says Urban Meyer, Lincoln Riley. I don't see it.
Yeah, I just don't see it because to me, like there's people talking about Ron Rivera. I just don't think it matters who coaches there because it's not going to be their organization. And it's kind of like what's happening with, you mentioned John Dorsey. It's kind of what's happening with the Browns. Like, I don't believe you should hire someone who you can just control. Like, there's a relationship that needs to exist there between the GM and the coach. And in any sport, when there's an imbalance of power in a situation where it can't work. Like, we were talking to Orlando Scandrick last year, and he was like, no, Cowboys are great. Like, you can go straight to the owner. I'm like, that's not a good thing.
Yeah, that's not good.
It's not a good thing.
Can I throw a grenade in this conversation real quick? Because what if a pairing of Josh McDaniels and Tom Brady to Dallas next year?
Yeah, so Colin threw that out there. I want to say this last week, and I love it. I like to watch the world burn, and that would be unbelievable.
Because if you look at like Tom Brady, there's a good chance I think he does leave. He looks around at his team. He's like, where are my weapons? Like, where are my guys? Like every year I take less money. Where's my weapon? Like, where are you reinvesting that money? You just let Trent Brown walk. You've let
scouting, I believe, is where they spend it.
That story, by the way, is way too overblown. Like you never replaced Gronk. Like you knew he was retiring. You never so. Where's all this money being spent? Go to Dallas. I know Jerry's in the way, but you have pieces there. You have Amari Cooper. I mean, assume you re-sign Amari Cooper. You have a great offensive line. You have Zeke. You have linebackers and pass rushers, and just add Tom Brady and Josh McDaniels, and maybe you got a winner.
So they'd win in spite of Jerry, basically.
I think those two can maybe convince Jerry to back off. Like if Tom went to Jerry, it's like, look, Jerry, you can do your press conferences after the game, but let me and Josh run the thing. Like let me do it. You think for 1 year or 2 years he'd stay away? Eventually he couldn't do it.
Yeah, I mean, like long term he would break.
But if they win a championship next year or the year after, it'd be worth it to
And
Jerry.
I think that's all that Jerry wants, really. It's not that I think Jerry is doing this with malintent. I just think that the result of what he does is not good for the team. Okay, so
Agreed.
The Patriots situation, I'll just keep it real. I don't care because this is whatever. This is what they do, and I just can't continue to get outraged at something. Yeah, he's
got his pictures there. He's ready to go. He wore an amazing outfit to his press conference today. By the way, it was he took his sweatpants and rolled them up to like his calf. He was wearing long white socks, like Air Monarchs, I think, and a hoodie. And it was just like he just walked in like all grumpy to his press conference.
He's a magnificent grump.
My thing with these type of stories is why. Okay, the why. So Spygate made sense because they were signaling stuff in, and you could record that signal and then match up with the tape and maybe get an edge. Okay. They don't do that anymore. There's radio communication now. So the why of this does not make sense. Why would you risk it all for the Bengals? Why would you do it in the press box? I guess the idea is, that you commit a crime out in open. It's easier to do. It's more brazen. And I come back to maybe this idea. They just like cheating. Like they like pushing the edge. And it's like they just like that feeling of like pushing the edge and trying to get a tiny bit more of information.
So it's just the thrill?
I guess. I don't know. Why would they do this? There's no reason to do this.
That's kind of where I am. Like, first of all, like we're banging on the Bengals. Like, we're keeping it real, though. Nobody needs to cheat to beat the Bengals, and certainly not the Patriots. But if they're doing this with every team and they just happen to get caught doing it with the Bengals, that's one thing.
They haven't been credentialed for any other game for this crew to like do this type of thing. Like this is the first game they've been credentialed for this idea of this show. And the thing about too is like you could just have someone in the stands with a camera with one of these things and just record it from the stands. Like you don't have to do this whole like this whole.
I'm kind of with you. Like it's so much that it's like you'd have to be completely either on like just brazenly not caring, or completely and utterly incompetent,
which is possible too.
That is
it's the NFL.
It's fair. All right, it's not out of the realm of possibility. However, for me, I just feel like not even just the Patriots. Like, I don't think any team after the stain that Spygate has had on the Patriots And I'm sure what Belichick, is thinking about his legacy and how he's going to be remembered at this point would be worth it to do that. But I just don't think that Belichick had anything to do with it. And not to protect Belichick.
Right.
Listen, I've suffered at the hands of Belichick for 20 years, okay? Dolphins and Steelers fan. I have no lost for Belichick. But I respect their winning. For me, I just feel like this is what the Patriots do. They always just push it like a little bit further.
Yeah.
And maybe they just got caught. But I can't fake outrage over it. I just can't.
What if the videographer just decided, I'm going to shoot some B-roll, whatever. Then I might get something on film. I'll just hand it to Belichick or someone else. Like, maybe I get something. Like, I don't, maybe it's just,
So you went rogue?
To your thing, like, I don't think Belichick is sitting in his office preparing, for like, they're preparing for who they play the week before the Bengals, whoever it was, right? Preparing for the Chiefs. And he's like, hey, guys, go get someone to record the Bengals like 2 weeks from now. Like, I don't think he's doing that, okay?
I can't believe that either.
Right? Like, he's not doing that. So he's so focused on that week. And again, I think there's a lot of misreporting of what actually happens on the sidelines. They're not signaling plays anymore. There's no signaling adjustments. I watched the film. There's no one's looking at the sidelines for stuff. That's all overblown. I don't know what they were looking for. It seemed like a waste of time, and they got caught. Look, they're getting fined. They'll get suspended.
The rules were broken, so they are going to get fined.
They deserve
They'll probably lose a draft pick, but I don't know. I think I'm with you. Okay, so another offensive line question.
Yes.
So obviously the Cowboys kicked the Rams' ass this week, and I don't really know what to make of the Rams from one week to next. I think it all rides on Todd Gurley and how he plays, but I just think that it was the offensive line for the Rams this year. Like, I don't think that Sean McVay is like some non-genius and Jared Goff can't play football. Like, I just think that the offensive line struggled, and Todd Gurley needs a good offensive line.
That's a big part of it, but I also think that McVay did not realize they were struggling. So it's going to get a little nerdy here. So the Rams run a lot of zone, right? So a lot of it's lateral movement down the line of scrimmage. They want to take their guy laterally. And you have to be very strong to block someone one-on-one to be able to stretch that guy down the field, because obviously the defender's also strong too, right? And so when they started getting weaker on the interior offensive line, they're getting pushed back too far. And when you get pushed back too far, it messes up the timing of your zone runs, and guys can run down from behind. That was happening for 10 weeks, and they just never adjusted till the Bears game was the first time they changed their rushing team to kind of build double teams in and go more up the field. And it's easier when you watch my hands do it. So I think McVay did not realize the change needed to be made till too late. But again, if you're not the Ravens, you cannot rely on your run game, I think, to win your games anymore. I mean, the Ravens are so unique in the way they do it, and eventually everyone says maybe they get figured out. But if they win a Super Bowl this year, who cares if they get figured out? You got to rely on Goff. I mean, Goff has to be number one, but you set up play action pass because you run the football. The threat of running the football is what helps them in the situation. And I think Goff is just not a great drop back passer, and they get situations when they can't run the football in 3rd and long and just ends up being terrible. I don't think he's not a genius anymore, but the best coaches are able to adjust and adapt. He hasn't done that yet, and that kind of worries me. What
did you think of the exit from Oakland?
It felt very fitting. That place is a dump. I mean, they had to leave. It's a bad place, but it just felt
like why. So unfortunately, Donnie, I unfortunately had never got a chance to go to the Coliseum, but obviously I've heard
you missed out
many stories. Yes, I do feel like I missed out because low-key,
that's one reason to go, by the way.
The Raiderettes are awesome.
Yeah, they're one of the top in the NFL.
Yeah,
I guess not anymore. Maybe I don't know what they're doing in Vegas.
Well, I mean, I'm sure the Vegas Raiderettes are going to be awesome. Vegas has very good-looking women. Those tryouts are going to be probably documented. Anyway, I just feel like Oakland deserved better.
They did. Their fans are passionate. They love their team. They've been their team forever now. They already went through one move, right, when they went to LA and came back. And that's why they booed after the game. They threw nachos on the field. I mean, they did all that stuff because they're up 16-3 to the Jaguars and lost. Yeah, it just felt, and if you read a bunch of people that cover the team in the Bay Area, they all said this was the most fitting ending, right? The most losses in 25. I think them and the Browns are somewhere near the most losses the last 25 years. No real success. I think they had a Super Bowl. They win a Super Bowl. They went to Super Bowl in one of those years. They went, right? They didn't win the Super Bowl. Otherwise, it's nothing. Andy Reid has owned the division the last 7 years or whatnot. Just felt that that place, it needs to go. That place is a dump. Like, you couldn't, if you went to see your brother play, you could not wear his jersey in the stadium. Like, you have to go in like plain clothed and then put it on when you get like into your seat. Like, my parents would go, Chiefs games, and they would go with a regular shirt on and then take it off, put a Chiefs shirt on.
When they got to their seats.
Into their seats, yeah.
Yeah, my mom would, so I would have had to have an issue. My mother is like me, we just don't really care. And,
yeah, but,
and so she would not only wear a Dolphins jersey, it would be like down to her knees, white.
In Oakland?
No, she never went to Oakland.
Yeah.
But I mean, listen, we've gotten into a lot of shit with fans, and it would say "mom" on the back.
Yeah, I don't know.
So she's just basically a giant light bulb in the middle of his
from the
hand.
front though, it doesn't say mom. I mean, I could see people yelling at her like, and, you know, I'm sure she could dish it back, but still, I don't. It's that place is.
No, I wouldn't have. That's what I'm saying. We would have had an argument because she'd have been like,
Yeah.
"I'm fine." She probably would have been fine because she's just.
How does she like your impression of her?
That's exactly what she does.
Okay.
I mean, that's exactly, yeah, she'll love it because that's exactly what she does. And she's a Cowboys fan too. All right, so final question. Obviously, offensive linemen, you guys are big guys. We've had Mark Schlereth on before. His nickname is Stink, so he has endless stories. But part of the reason why I've never wanted to be a reporter is, no offense, but locker rooms are disgusting places. And they have a constant smell. Like, even when they're clean in the off-season, like there's no one in there, it's like a nice, just kind of here. The smell just sits like right there.
Look at that.
Yeah.
The white jerseys do not do any good either.
Yeah, white's not the most slimming color.
No.
But listen, you gotta have a lot of muscle.
That was the last game of a 2-14 season right there.
Oh well,
Yikes.
so bad memories.
Yeah. I
but
threw my helmet after this game. Well, not
did-
on the sidelines. I was so angry at our quarterback.
What
he
happened?
screwed me. We had Jimmy Clausen, and it was bad that year. It was like fourth down, and we had a quick protection. I blocked my guy for like 4 seconds, and my guy like eventually like kind of got off of me, and Jimmy hadn't thrown the ball yet, and he's supposed to throw the ball 2 seconds ago. And Jimmy just like ran into my guy for a sack, and then like, but my guy, I think it was probably Babineau, he like took him by like the neck and like threw him backwards. And I was like, we lost the game like 37-7. I took my helmet aside, I just threw it. I was like, I'm over this guy. I just can't do it anymore. Yeah, good memories. So you're saying that we stink?
No, I'm not saying that. Listen, my brother's smelly too. He's attributed to that smell. I'm just saying with stink being Mark Schlereth, he had like some crazy, unbelievable stories about like locker room mayhem. Do you have any that like pop to mind?
Locker room mayhem?
Yeah, just like guys, like I've heard of guys like, this is so gross. I've heard of guys like taking razors out of like the Ickman sticker like box and like reusing them.
Oh, gross stuff like that?
Yeah.
I don't know about that. I mean, we've had guys like, okay, so I'll tell you a story.
I'm not saying that you stink.
No. But like, you know, this is a lot of nakedness. Our old owner in Carolina, Jerry Richardson, was very professional. Like he wanted very subtle. Like, he wanted you to come shake his hand no matter what. Like you could get up and shake. Like if he walked in here, he expected all of you to get up and shake his hand. That was like what his thing was. And so I saw him coming down our locker room after practice, I think it was. And I'm like, I don't want to do so I try to get all my stuff off and run like across the hallway to get to the bathroom. But he met me halfway, and I didn't have a towel on. So I was naked in the middle of the locker room, shaking our owner's hand. And I saw like our tight end over there, like just busting up laughing. He's like, "Hey, how you doing, Geoff? I'm doing good, sir. Good practice today." Like just totally like just.
So you were
out.
trying to avoid him, and you just
I had to like take all my stuff off and like turn around, and I tried to beat him across, and he meet me in the way. I mean, look, there were pranks and not like stinky stuff. I mean, it wasn't like a lot of that gross stuff happening. I feel like that's its way out of the NFL a little bit. I mean, there were guys that would go to the bathroom in like the hot tub. I'm like, like really, like you guys, like really, why would you do that? Like we're all in here, we all know we're in here. Like why would you? Like
in the hot tub?
Yeah.
It's such a small confined space. It's like
exactly
a breeding ground for ickiness
exactly.
already. Like,
yes, we had a guy do that like once or twice. I've seen that happen.
Number one, of course.
Yes, yeah. I mean, I thought that was understood. You know, that was like.
I'm not gonna lie. When we first said it was.
I thought that was understood that it was going to be number one only. So no, nothing terribly gross.
Well, if you think of any gross stories, we love gross
I'll
stories.
tweet you
so
guys.
next time, next time you come on. But thank you so much for joining us.
glad to be
Really
here.
appreciate it. It was fun, and may the Schwartz be with you.
You already all waiting to say that. I love it.